So vibration. So the ether. So I called it ether. So ether is another word for space. And you might have heard of the word Akash. You hear that quite a lot these days, the word Akash. The word Akash is Sanskrit for space. So it means the same thing as ether. I think ether is what we used to kind of call it, but lately this word Akash, it's a Sanskrit variation, has become more popular. And so where does this space exist? Now, if we remember back to molecules, I think we talked about it in the first one when I was explaining different frequencies, that when we remember the structure of molecules, you've got the nucleus in the middle and the atoms that all run around on the outside. In between that is all space. So even though our computers look really solid, they're made up of molecules which contain a whole lot of space. And the reason they appear solid is because the particles are moving really slowly. So we talked about that when we talked about physicality. And so all of this space or ether exists within everything. It exists within us. It exists within our energy fields. You know, quite often we think our energy fields are just around us, but our energy fields are within us as well, because even though we're solid, we've got a whole lot of space going on in there as well. And this is where our codes are kept. And the codes are created by vibrational frequency. And so vibrations are created, everything vibrates. You know, when we think of sound, how is sound created? You know, from the movement of strings or drums or our vocal cords. You know, we create sound through movement, which creates vibrations. Those vibrations hit our eardrums, and then what happens? The eardrums vibrate, and that vibration is carried on to the little bones in the inner ear through vibration, and then that vibrational signaling transfers to our brain to be interpreted as language or as sound or whatever we're hearing at any particular time. But really, it's all just vibrations. Also, the way that we see color. If you remember that white light, you put it through the prism, remember in science, and it splits into different wavelengths. Then the different wavelengths is how our eyes perceive color. So different vibrational frequencies. So the color red has a longer wavelength. It's a slower frequency. And then it goes orange, green, blue, or yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, like the colors of the rainbow. That's the speeding up of vibrational frequencies is how we perceive color through our vision. All of our thought forms and our feelings create vibrations as well. And this is what then goes on to create our vibrational frequency. You know, if something happens and we have a bad thought about something, it doesn't mean that our vibrational frequency gets affected like that. It's more an accumulation is what becomes an imprint. It's like clothes that get crinkled. If they're only crinkled for a little while, you straighten them out again and they're not crinkled. But the longer you hold those crinkles, the more permanent those crinkles become. Unless, of course, you take it out and you do the work to undo those crinkles. And so that's similar when we start to do the energy work within our energy layers. We give ourselves the opportunity to bring back into harmony whatever is out of harmony or whatever is imbalanced away from our original template, which is the divine. We'll talk more about that when we talk about light. But, you know, for vibrational frequency, so this is how we can work energetically with different frequencies as well. So far when we've looked at the different elements, we've looked at their different energetic frequencies. And so things like the chakras as well, the wisdom of the chakras is also really powerful ways that we can identify what might be deeper than that within our own subconscious. So our subconscious is actually made up of our energy layers. Our energy layers are our subconscious. And so as we learn from, you know, what's happening in our physical body, we can equate it to where the energy centers are in our body, and look deeper, you know, what's actually happening at those deeper layers. And then we can do the work in those particular layers to allow ourselves to release that density. Because if you know, if we've got those lower vibrational thought forms, then that's what creates density, and the density is slower moving, and so it prevents that free flow of energy. And, you know, going with the flow, you know, that saying, going with the flow, or functioning in your flow state, is when we're not in resistance. And that's when we're being open and allowing, and trusting as well. Trusting a lot of our process as well prevents that resistance. As soon as we get into that resistance, you know, trying to hold on to old and outdated ideas and ideals, old patterns that, you know, come through not just our own experience in this time, but also other timelines. It can come through our DNA as well. So our lineage, our family lineage DNA holds their codes, like codes that they've been carrying within their energy fields. This is how you get those lineage type of patterns. They get actually carried, you know, through the DNA in that way. And so it's all vibrational frequency. And so we can actually use vibrations very powerfully and more quickly than physical, trying to change physical, by being able to bring back into balance different vibrational disharmonies that, you know, that might exist at any time. Yeah, so, you know, as we start to expand our awareness and our consciousness more, we start to be able to more easily connect in with these subtle energies as well. Like this Akash, this space that is all around us is containing these subtle energies. And, you know, quite often, you know, people will energetically be working with these higher frequencies to try and connect with the higher frequencies, because it is higher frequency information. But at the same time, we also need to be grounded. We need to be grounded to be able to hold ourselves in stillness enough to be able to notice that that information is even there. You know, if we're constantly running around in the mind, we miss the messages that are always around for us. There is always information around supporting us, supporting our evolution. But unless we are in the moment, you know, the present moment stuff that you hear a lot about these days in mindfulness, that's really important, because only if we're present, we can actually pick up on that subtle information that's there. And because it is subtle, because it's not tangible, it's not physical, it's vibrational. And, you know, so we need to be in stillness, but then also that powerful trust that comes from the earth element as well. So, you know, having that grounding helps us then to be able to build those energy centers all on that much more strongly as well. And, you know, we receive intuitive information in all different ways too. So, you know, some people feel, some people hear, some people know things, some people see things. And again, that's just going to depend on the individual. And even in those different instances, you will receive information in whichever way it's more easily for you to interpret. You know, if you're the type of person that works with numbers, you're more likely to get things along those lines. You know, if you're the type of person who works with movement, you're more likely to get feeling in the body if that's how it's going to be easier for you to receive that information. Like, everybody's capable of receiving information in all of the ways, but usually it will come through first in the most easiest way, or you'll recognize it first in whatever your strongest sense is. And so I talk a lot more about the different intuitions in another one of my programs. But yeah, so another interesting thing about vibrations is that they always come into resonance. And this is, with this knowledge, this is where we can use this to our advantage. So, you might have you heard of the Swiss clock experiment? Where they put a whole lot of Swiss clocks on the wall, they'll all be ticking at different times, and within the matter of an hour or so, they'll all start to be moving at the same time. This is because of vibrational resonance. Another one, tuning forks. Has anyone played with tuning forks before? Vivian, you should have some tuning forks, do you? Vivian's a musician. If you ting one and you hold another one, entrainment, that's the word. If you ting one, you hold the other one will start to vibrate as well. And that's that entrainment, that resonance, because they come into resonance. And you might have noticed it yourself too, when you walk into a room full of people that are really happy. How does that make you feel? Especially over time, even if you're having a bad day and you walked into a room full of people all going, yay, all day long, you're going to become entrained to their frequency. And similarly, if you walk into a room full of everyone who's sad and, upset or mad, it's going to be very difficult for you to hold your frequency when all of the other frequencies are resonating in a different way. And so, we can use this information because we actually have the power to entrain our own frequency. So it will take practice at first because, and it's not our fault because we're not taught this information. We just carry on with life, doing whatever life does. But what we can start to do is to practice changing our own frequency. So changing our own vibration. And over time, so we can do practices like heart congruence. That's a beautiful one, just connecting into the heart space. Gratitude practice, which is really popular. It sounds cliche, but if you allow yourself to feel, and this is the key, feel, not just think, because it's the feeling that creates the frequency. And so when we remember, we might start doing a 5-minute practice a day and then change it into twice a day, just sitting within gratitude, feeling gratitude, allowing it to move through your whole being. Over time, that will start to change your old, outdated coding. And so, so then what happens is as we start to operate more at a higher vibrational frequency, it becomes easier for us to keep that frequency as well. Because once our energy fields or our subconscious gets coded with this higher frequency, we begin to operate at a higher frequency as well. It just takes a bit of practice at first to get rid of the old patterns, to change the old patterns, because sometimes patterns have been there for generations and generations. And so, we can be entraining ourselves to a higher frequency. We can be going really well for ages. And then, a few things will happen in life. We'll get really bummed. We'll, drop our frequency and you'll start to see the old patterns come back in. That can happen as well. But when you're aware and you're present, it gives you the opportunity to be able to recognize that's happening and remember you have a choice. You have a choice about how you feel. Like stuff that's happened in the past, we can't change it. It's already happened. But we do have a choice whether we continue to focus on that or whether we allow ourselves to move through it and create a life that we would like to move into walking forward, rather than carrying, the ball and chain from all of the stuff that, that's happened in the past. I just want to share this story with you because I didn't understand it at the time, but what happened is many years ago, when I was living at this place just by the Brisbane River, I used to go frequent for a walk down along the river. And then on the way back, I always used to sit in this beautiful park and sit under the different trees and connect in with the energies of the trees. And I got a lot of different wisdom from the different trees, which was actually really interesting because the energy of the different trees was quite different as well. So anyway, I was doing this for, quite a long time. And then one day I was quite disturbed on my work. I can't even remember what was happening actually, but it was, I was very upset while I was walking, and on the way back, and as I walked back through my park, I just said wholeheartedly, like, how is this ever going to work? How are people going to be able to get along? I just couldn't see it, because it was, you know, some people, it can be very frustrating. And in that moment, I had this big wave of the most amazing feeling came over me. Like that feeling of, you know, when you're really, really grateful for something and you're in the best mood ever, like that feeling, but double it. Like that feeling swept over me. And in that moment, I realized this is how it's happening. It is through, and because everything works on resonance, not everybody has to get to that feeling. What happens is those of us who decide that we want to be in the fifth dimension, which is a change in perspective from the third dimension, is a change in perspective. When we decide we want to operate more in 5D, we will cultivate, or we do cultivate. You've probably all been in that feeling state, you know, at some time or other. And my hope is that you have. If not, we should do some more work together and we'll get there. But, you know, being able to hold that feeling state is how it's going to happen. And then by default, and when you're holding such a high vibrational frequency, you don't worry about the rubbish anymore. The rubbish, because it's a different frequency. You know, there's a complete, it just doesn't connect anymore. And so that's kind of the pattern. Like when people are shown things about 3D and 5D, the separation is not going to happen physically. The separation is going to happen. We're just not going to, it's going to be that they're there. But once the more people are holding that higher frequency, we have resonance. So the people who are wanting to stay stuck and with their eyes closed are not going to be able to help themselves, because they don't have the choice, because we are a collective energy, you know, pretty much as well. And so, you know, as all of it expands and changes, this is, you know, this is how the change is going to happen. And it was so interesting at the time when it happened. I was like, wow, that was really interesting. But I understood in that moment, but I didn't quite understand. But now, you know, as I'm learning so much more and so much more pieces of the puzzle are coming together, it's like, this is actually how it's happening. And that way it's so much easier to see how it's possible, rather than having, you know, everybody's got to sort out their rubbish. Well, not really, because of vibration. So these vibrations are such powerful things. Anyway, let's do a practice, shall we? I keep going on. Blah, blah, blah. So what I thought we would do is use the seed sound mantras. If anyone's heard of those before. So each of the chakras holds a particular tone that resonates at the same frequency as that particular chakra. And so what we can do is, if a chakra is out of balance, we can use the seed sound of that chakra to help to bring it back into balance. We can also use color as well, because the color holds a vibrational frequency. And so I'll just get you to close down your eyes if you're safe to do so. And as we do these seed sounds, I want you to really feel it in that particular space. And so with your eyes closed down, just making yourself comfortable. And then once you're comfortable, just bringing your awareness onto your breath. And just allowing that breath to help to bring you into the moment. So connecting in with your breath and riding those waves, connecting with that air, bringing you into expansion, allowing that nervous system to relax as the breath slows down, and bringing you into this very moment. Now, if you take your awareness into the base of your spine, Just imagining you're breathing in and out through that space, activating the energy in that space. And now visualizing the color red, breathing that color red into the base of your spine, all the way down your legs and feet are also governed by that earth energy. Now, as you continue to breathe that color red, we're going to 3 times chant the mantra LAM, L-A-M. And as you do, I want you to really feel it vibrate within that base chakra space. So we breathe in. LAM. LAM. And just pausing for a moment and feeling that move through all of your base area. And so we're going to now move up to the sacral area, so just above the pubic bone, below the belly button. And now breathing in and out through that space for a couple of breaths. And then starting to visualize the color orange. And so seeing that color orange start to fill through your whole sacral area as you continue with that gentle, steady breath. And this time we're going to use the seed sound VAM, V-A-M. So as we breathe in, VAM, VAM, VAM. Just feeling that vibration through that sacral area. And now bringing your awareness up to the solar plexus, so just above the belly button, below the breastbone. Breathing in and out through that space for a few rounds of breath. And then starting to visualize the color yellow, bright, sunny yellow color, moving through that whole space. Now we're going to use the seed sound RAM, R-A-M, the sound of fire. And so as you breathe in, RAM, RAM, RAM. Feeling that move through your solar plexus, stoking those fires. And now moving up to the heart space, breathing in and out through the center of your chest. Starting to visualize that color green, perceiving that green frequency all the way through your heart space, your lungs. And we're going to use the seed sound VAM, or YAM, sorry. YAM, Y-A-M. I remember it was, I think, yum, yummy heart space. YAM. So we breathe in, and then yam, yam, yam. Feeling that move in and out through your heart space. Just allowing it to be however it is, however it's received. And now we're going to move up to the throat space and starting to breathe in and out through that space. With the color blue now, a beautiful blue, sky blue color, allowing that color to fill through that whole throat space, and bringing back into harmony the energy of the throat. And so we're going to use the seed sound now, hum, H-A-M. So as we breathe in, hum, hum, hum. Really allowing yourself to feel that move all the way through your throat space. Now we're going to move up to the brow, the third eye, the center of your head. We're going to use the seed sound now, sham, S-H-A-M. And so as you breathe in and out through this brow center, we're going to first visualize the color indigo, allowing that indigo color to start to shine through. Seeing that beautiful indigo color, blue purple color. And now we're going to do the seed sound, sham. So we breathe in. Sham, sham, sham. Feeling that moving through your whole third eye. And then we're going to move up to the crown, so the very top of your head. This time breathing in and out through that space, allowing an openness through that space. Now visualizing a bright violet white light emanating from your crown. And we're going to use the seed sound Om, either O-M or A-U-M, whichever tradition. That Om. And so we breathe in. Om. 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 And just feeling that resonance all through the crown of your head. And then taking one more nice long deep breath in. And then as you're breathing out, releasing it, letting it all go, starting to bring some gentle movement back. And whenever you are ready, you can open up your eyes. Okay, so if you've got your journal there, if you wanted to journal anything, you might have noticed a different quality of resonance in the different energy portals. As we work through those, sometimes some you might just vague out, and that's there may be a bit of low energy in that space if you weren't able to connect. Sometimes some will feel really resonant and potent. Sometimes you can get an awareness as well as you start to move energy through any of these energy centers. Sometimes they can come through as a memory, a thought, a feeling, sometimes colors, symbols, all sorts of things. Never discount anything, because sometimes we may not immediately understand what it is, but then if we just allow it to continue to unfold, rather than trying to jump into analysis straight away when you're receiving insight, because that blocks the flow. that doing. So not doing, just receiving is the insight. So receiving that insight and just allowing it to unfold for you. And then, you can always go back and think about it later. And then that can, it may make sense at some point or even later. Maybe there's another piece of the puzzle you need to receive somewhere and then all the pennies drop. If you had experiences like that before, there's just been a few kind of things you kind of almost grasped on it. It's like, oh, that was weird, but I don't quite get it. And then like something else, some other piece of information will come into your awareness, and then then that helps to add up the dots. So never discount anything that that's coming through for you, no matter how strange it seems. No matter how strange it seems at the time, like a wave of infinite love while you're walking through the park.